What if I told you that dedicating 20% of your work week to doing absolutely nothing for your current clients is literally the only way to save your business?
I mean, it sounds totally counterintuitive, especially if you're, someone who bills by the hour.
Right, because if you step away from the desk, you just stop making money.
Exactly. But for independent professionals, that very specific allocation of time is actually the difference between chronic burnout and, well, building a predictable, scalable income.
Okay, let's unpack this because that concept is right at the absolute center of what we're looking at today. We're doing a deep dive into the core strategies of a book called Leadsology, The Science of Being in Demand by Tom Poland.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we should probably clarify exactly who this is for.
Definitely. Because if you run a retail store or, you sell a physical widget like software or sneakers or coffee, the rules we were about to discuss might not actually apply to you.
Right, this is specifically tailored for what the author calls advisors.
So coaches, consultants, that sort of thing.
Exactly. An advisor is really anyone who sells their ideas, their advice, their transformations, or their expertise.
You're basically selling the invisible.
Yes. Whether you're a business coach, a management consultant, a corporate trainer, financial planner, you name it. Because you are selling something people cannot hold in their hands, the way you generate demand has to fundamentally change.
Which brings us to the architect of this whole system. Tom Poland isn't just kind of theorizing in an ivory tower here.
No, not at all. This material is based on his 35 years of being right in the trenches of sales and marketing.
Decades of testing and, honestly, failing and refining. And the big foundational realization he came to is that generic marketing advice is actually actively harmful to advisors.
It's a painful realization,
Hmm.
because so many professionals spend an absolute fortune on these marketing gurus who just hand them a cookie-cutter playbook.
Which just doesn't work for them.
Right. What's fascinating here is Poland's observation about where true expertise actually comes from. He noted that good teachers teach what they have been taught, but great teachers teach what they have observed.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so he just threw out the generic rulebook and built a system based strictly on the real-world observation of what actually creates a steady stream of inbound leads for service professionals.
And I think to understand how to build that system, we first need to look at the wreckage of what happens when you don't have one.
Oh, the wreckage is real.
The material illustrates this through this highly relatable scenario involving a hypothetical advisor named Sam. And Sam is, well, he's trapped on what is essentially a revenue roller coaster.
Which is unfortunately the default state for most independent professionals.
Right.
Like when Sam is at the peak of the roller coaster, life looks great on paper. He's swimming in client work, the cash flow is strong.
But because he's executing all that work, he has literally zero spare time to actually market his business.
He is completely consumed by fulfilling those current contracts. But,
Yeah.
Inevitably, those contracts end, the projects wrap up.
And because he hasn't been marketing at all, Sam just plunges down the roller coaster.
And suddenly he has all the free time in the world, but the cash flow has just completely dried up.
Which has to be terrifying.
It triggers a very specific psychological response, which is just pure panic.
Yeah.
When Sam hits the bottom, he engages in what Poland perfectly describes as random acts of marketing.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah.
He frantically posts on LinkedIn. He goes to some random Tuesday networking breakfast.
He sends out a desperate email blast to his entire contact list.
Yes, he is just throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping something sticks so he can pay his mortgage.
Which creates this energy that prospects can spot from a mile away. The book calls it the dance of the desperate.
The dance of the desperate. That was such a good phrase for it.
Because there is really nothing more repelling to a potential client than desperation. When you're operating from this place of scarcity, trying to force a sale just to keep the lights on, it just seeps into your tone.
Your body language changes.
Totally. You stop diagnosing their actual problems and start pushing your solutions, and that instantly destroys the trust that is absolutely required to sell an advisory service.
Okay, so if Sam's roller coaster is the problem, the solution is modeled by another character the book introduces, Pam.
Right? Pam has it figured out.
Pam operates on a fundamentally different structure called the Poland calendar. Instead of a traditional Monday through Friday filled wall-to-wall with client meetings, her schedule is very rigid.
Very rigid.
She does client work on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is exclusively her marketing day. Then it's back to client work on Thursday and Friday.
She treats that Wednesday as her absolute most important client. Nothing overrides it.
No exceptions.
None. It is a full, dedicated block of time spent exclusively on generating new leads.
Okay, but this is where I have to play devil's advocate for you listening, right? Because if I'm an independent consultant, my time is my inventory.
Sure.
If I take 20% of my available billing hours an entire day and dedicate it to marketing, I am taking an immediate pay cut. How does an advisor justify giving up an entire day of revenue?
You justify it by looking at the lifetime value of your business versus the short-term panic of the roller coaster.
Okay.
If you don't dedicate the time, you will inevitably end up exactly like Sam. You'll lose weeks or even months of revenue when the pipeline inevitably dries up.
It's a structural mindset shift, really. Huh. I like to think most advisors treat marketing like a spare tire.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Right. They keep it hidden in the trunk, and they only pull it out when they hit a pothole and get a flat, like when the clients disappear.
Exactly.
But Pam is treating marketing like the engine. It isn't an emergency tool. It's the actual mechanism that drives the vehicle forward. And if you refuse to build the engine because it takes too much time, you're going to spend the rest of your life pushing the car by hand.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. And, when you finally stop pushing the car and sit down to build that engine on Wednesdays, it forces you to face a really hard truth about why you aren't making enough money.
Which is?
Well, so many advisors look at their low revenue and they immediately misdiagnose the root cause. They assume their service just isn't good enough.
Oh, imposter syndrome kicks in.
Exactly. They think, oh, I need another certification, or I need a slicker logo, or I have to completely redesign my coaching program.
But the material offers this brilliant metric to test that assumption.
Yeah.
You literally just have to look at your close rate.
Yes.
What percentage of qualified prospects do you actually convert into paying clients once you are sitting across from them? If you are converting 80% or more of the people you actually get in a room with,
then your service is flawless.
Exactly.
Your advice is sound. Your bedside manner is great. The value is clearly there. If your revenue is low but your conversion rate is high, you do not have a quality problem. You have a demand problem.
You simply suffer from a lack of leads.
Precisely.
So once you accept that it's a demand problem, you sit down on your dedicated Wednesday to fix it. But here is where the next trap is waiting.
The retail trap.
Right. Because if you're selling an invisible service, you cannot look to the retail world for inspiration. The tactics that sell physical goods will actively damage an advisory business.
We really have to look at the psychology of the buyer here. If you buy a pair of shoes, you can see them, touch them, try them on. The risk is incredibly low.
You know what you're getting.
But if a company hires you to, say, restructure their executive leadership team, they're buying a promise.
Yeah, that's huge.
They are taking a massive risk on your invisible expertise. And because the risk is so much higher, the marketing has to be built on a foundation of profound trust.
Which explains why trying to copy what the book calls a high-flow model is such a total disaster for consultants.
Oh, completely.
You see these massive automated online funnels designed to sell a $20 ebook or some cheap video course, right? They rely on sheer volume. But if you try to plug a $10,000 consulting package into a cheap automated funnel, you just get crickets.
Because an automated email sequence just doesn't build the requisite trust for a high-ticket advisory service. It is fundamentally the wrong tool for the job.
Right.
And honestly, the same logic applies to pricing. A really common reaction to a lack of demand is to just slash prices, thinking it'll make the service more attractive.
Which is just that retail instinct kicking in again. Trying to sell a high-ticket consulting package using the same playbook as a $20 t-shirt is a recipe for disaster. If a television isn't selling, sure, you put it on clearance.
Right.
But if you are a consultant, your price isn't just a cost, it's a signal of your competence. Like if I have a life-threatening legal issue and one lawyer charges $1,000 an hour while another charges $50,
you are definitely going to assume the $50 lawyer is terrible.
I'm absolutely assuming that. Lowering your price just creates a race to the bottom.
It doesn't increase demand for advisors. It just initiates that race to the bottom and erodes your perceived authority. People want to hire the expert, and experts don't put themselves on the clearance rack.
The text also takes a pretty hard swing at where advisors actually spend their marketing energy. It points out that relying heavily on social media to generate leads is, for the most part, a massive distraction for high-end service providers.
It might stroke your ego to get likes, but it rarely translates into signed contracts.
And it isn't just digital media that fails advisors either. Legacy mediums like print advertisements, radio spots, television commercials, they are highlighted as massive wastes of capital.
And the reason comes down to one of the most critical concepts in the book, the failure to establish know, like, and trust.
Yeah, think about a 30-second radio spot. It's just a disruption. It's someone basically shouting at you while you drive.
Exactly. It doesn't give the listener any time to actually understand your methodology, to hear your perspective, or to feel comfortable with your expertise. It completely bypasses the entire relationship building phase.
Okay, so if traditional advertising, social media hustling, and cheap funnels don't work, how do we actually build that engine on our dedicated Marketing Wednesday?
Well, the beauty of the Leadsology approach is that it starts by stripping away all that overwhelm and replacing it with simple mathematics. It introduces the concept of the magic number.
This is the moment where I feel like the anxiety of marketing really evaporates for people.
It really
Let's
does.
walk through the exact mathematical example the author uses, because it is so incredibly clarifying.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's say you sit down and look at your personal life, your mortgage, your goals, and you realize you need $30,000 a month to live your ideal lifestyle. But right now, your business is only generating $20,000 a month.
So your baseline deficit, the actual gap you need to close, is $10,000.
Right. Now, let's look at what you sell. Say your core consulting package is priced at $2,000. To close that $10,000 gap, you only need to make 5 new sales every month. Now we bring back that conversion rate we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Let's be very conservative and say that when you get in front of a qualified prospect, you only close 50% of them.
So if you need 5 sales and your close rate is 50%,
You only need to sit down with exactly 10 qualified prospects a month.
10 leads, that is your magic number.
Just 10.
You don't need a viral video with 1 million views. You don't need 50,000 podcast downloads. You literally just need to find 10 qualified human beings every 30 days.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
It changes everything. Poland adapts a famous quote here saying, "That's one small number for you, but one giant leap for your lifestyle."
I love that.
Once you realize you only need 10 people, you stop trying to market to the entire internet. It demystifies marketing from this vague goal of more to a really precise, achievable target.
And that precision brings us to the core of the book, the 10-step Leadsology model. This is the actual blueprint for finding those 10 people.
Right, and it begins with the market. You have to identify your specific unmet need.
Which requires serious discipline, because most advisors want to help everyone with everything.
Of course they do. But to stand out, you have to find a specific group of people suffering from a very specific, painful problem that isn't being solved by the broader market. You have to establish what military strategists would call a beachhead.
A beachhead.
Yeah, you don't try to conquer the whole continent on day one. You dominate one tiny strip of sand first, establish your authority there, and then expand.
Okay, so once you have that narrow beachhead, how do you actually talk to them? The book outlines these proprietary frameworks for the message, and I want to really dig into how they function. It starts with a dinner party question.
Right.
How does that actually play out in a real conversation?
Well, imagine you are at a networking event or literally a dinner party and someone asks what you do. The amateur advisor gives a generic title like, "Oh, I'm a management consultant."
Which instantly kills the conversation because it doesn't mean anything to anyone.
Exactly. The dinner party question framework turns that dynamic around. Instead of stating your title, you state their problem.
Oh.
You say something like, "You know how mid-sized tech companies always seem to lose their best engineers after a year because of burnout? Well, I fixed the management structures that cause that."
Oh, wow. So you were immediately filtering for your specific unmet need.
Right. If they have that problem, their ears perk up.
But what happens next? Because the text introduces concepts called the waterfall and the value slider. How do those mechanisms actually move someone toward a sale without falling back into that dance of the desperate we talked about?
So the waterfall is basically a conversational architecture. Instead of pitching your service like some long monologue, a waterfall flows naturally from one logical agreement to the next.
Like a series of questions.
Yes. You ask questions that guide the prospect to articulate their own pain points. You establish agreement on the actual cost of the problem, and then you establish agreement on what an ideal solution would even look like.
Before you ever mention your specific service.
Exactly. By the time you get to your offer, they have already practically asked you for it.
It's a collaborative diagnosis rather than a high-pressure pitch. I love that. And the value slider.
The value slider is how you handle the reality that not every prospect has the same budget or timeline. Instead of having a rigid take it or leave it package, you can adjust the sliders of your offer during the conversation.
So if they can't afford the full 6-month engagement,
You just slide the scope down to a focused 2-day workshop. It allows you to capture value across a wider range of prospects without ever discounting your hourly rate. You are just adjusting the volume of the deliverable.
that is so smart. Okay, so you found your narrow market and you have this incredibly dialed-in message. Now you have to actually deliver it.
The mediums.
Right. We established earlier that radio and print are out. Social media is mostly distraction. So what mediums are actually effective for an advisor?
The system advocates for very specific marketing legs, primarily relying on webinars, in-person seminars, and something called OPN, other people's networks.
Notice the format of those mediums. A webinar or a seminar requires a prospect to sit with you, listen to your voice, and absorb your methodology for like 45 minutes to an hour.
It is a long-form medium.
Right.
And that is exactly where the know, like, and trust factor is actually forged. You aren't just claiming to be an expert in some tiny banner ad. You are actively demonstrating your expertise in real time.
And leveraging other people's networks, OPN, accelerates that process exponentially. Instead of trying to build an audience from scratch, you find someone who has already gathered your ideal prospects.
Like a software company that serves the exact same niche.
Yes. And you offer to run a highly valuable educational webinar for their audience. You're essentially borrowing their hard-earned trust.
Exactly. The audience trusts the host, and the host is introducing you as the expert. It completely bypasses months of cold outreach.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The book lists a physical book as marketing leg number 3. And while explaining this, Poland does something incredibly meta in the text.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
He literally breaks the fourth wall. He openly admits to you, the reader, that the physical book you are currently reading is a functioning piece of his own lead generation engine.
It is such a stunning moment of transparency. He doesn't hide his intentions at all. He tells the reader straight up that by buying his book and absorbing his frameworks, they are currently walking through his Leadsology system.
Right. He invites them to swipe and deploy the exact strategy he is using on them in real time.
He literally writes something to the effect of, when you take advantage of our offer at the end of this book, I will have generated a lead.
It's the ultimate proof of concept. He is demonstrating that his system builds trust because you are actively trusting him while he explains exactly how he is doing it.
And it highlights a profound psychological truth about authorship. A book isn't just a vehicle for delivering information. In the mind of the consumer, a book is a physical artifact of authority.
Definitely.
The mere existence of your book positions you as the definitive expert before they even open the cover.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, listening right now. We've navigated the chaotic reality of Sam's revenue roller coaster.
We've seen how random acts of marketing only breed that desperation that repels the exact people you want to serve.
And we've dismantled the false belief that you need to lower your prices or mimic retail marketing funnels or, try to go viral on social media. The problem isn't your expertise. It's simply a matter of engineering a predictable system to find your specific magic number of leads.
By dedicating just 20% of your time, your Wednesday marketing engine, to finding your specific unmet need, crafting a message that acts like a waterfall, and delivering it through high-trust, long-form mediums, you can escape the hustle.
You can build a scalable advisory business without sacrificing your life to 80-hour work weeks.
And as you begin to map out what your specific engine looks like, I want to leave you with a question to chew on, building on that realization about the physical book.
Let's hear it.
If traditional ads fail because they don't inherently build know, like, and trust, does the format of your marketing actually matter more than the message itself?
Oh, wow. That fundamentally reframes how you choose your tactics.
Think deeply about it. If you choose to host a seminar, or if you write a comprehensive book, does the sheer fact that you chose a medium historically associated with educators and thought leaders instantly pre-qualify you in the prospect's mind? Are you deliberately choosing mediums that instantly diagnose you as an authority, or are you still just trying to shout over the noise in crowded, low-trust environments?
That is definitely a powerful lens to view your next marketing decision through. Something to seriously consider as you block out your calendar and start building your own conveyor belt of demand. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the science of being in demand. Until next time, guard your time, know your value, and stop doing random acts of marketing.